Okay, welcome to this section. All right. In our last class, we have actually run our analysis, and then we have seen that all our designs has passed. Right? If you remember vividly. All right. I believe we have practiced it from the beginning to this particular stage we are now, because it is compulsory and it is necessary for you to do that. All right. So as you can see, this is Orion, and then we have our drawing models. All right. So now what I will do is this. I will go to the building. Okay, our building analysis. I will go there. Right. Our analysis is where we do our analysis, and then you see that the building analysis marked. We have done that. So I'll go to post analysis, and then let's click on beam. Okay. Now we want to generate. We have done our designs. Okay, we have most of the information already. So we actually need to bring them out as a drawing so that we can print them possibly after doing the necessary editing in CAD, and then we will have our complete structural design done. Right. So now we have our beam here, and then as you can see, it has been marked. Okay, shows that it passed all the text. Alright, so I'll click on detailed drawing, and then I'll click on automatic detailed drawing. Alright, then now we see that we have a sheet type. We have all stories. I have story 1, story 2, and story 3. Now if I click on all stories and then I generate the beam, it's going to generate all the beam for both story 1, 2, and 3, right? Which is not right, which will actually cause confusion. So it is better you generate it story by story, right? So I'll uncheck this, and then I'll click on story 1. Alright, so I'll click on OK. Alright, so you see that it's actually doing all the necessary detailing, and then it's open in AutoCAD, right? So we have our AutoCAD. So as you can see, this is our beam. Okay, you can see we have this is 2y16. Okay, bar mark 1 top. Okay, and then we have the same thing, 2y16 bar mark 2 button, right? So now these are the details of all the beams. You can see we have our beam, we have all the beams, and then we have the sections. All right, so now you already have your beam details, right? If you agree with me. So I'll go back to my Orion again. So let's say I'm through. I've already gotten details of my story 1, so I will check this, and then I click on story 2, and then I'll click OK. Right, so this is how you do to get all your details about your beam, depend on the number of stories that you are working on. Okay, another thing again is that this is, if you look at this AutoCAD, it's open in a different page, right? It's advisable you combine them. All right, that is why it is important that before you start Orion class, you need to understand some basic things about AutoCAD, because it's compulsory. You need to actually do some editing in AutoCAD so that your work can be based on the British standard that we are using here, so that you can be able to take it to the site, and then the engineers or whosoever in the site can actually understand what you are drawing, right? So if you can see, we have our steel table as well. Okay, so I'll highlight this. Okay, I'll highlight this, which is story 2, and then I'll copy it, go to clipboard, copy it, and then I'll go to story 1. Okay, this is story 1, and then I'll paste it here. Clipboard, paste. Alright, so I'll paste it here so that I have both my story 1 and story 2 in the same place. So anything that you are exporting in Orion, it is advisable you gather them in one page, so that when you are working, you can be working in one particular page. All your drawings are in one particular page. Alright, so now I'll go back to Orion, and then I'll check it, and then I go to story 3, and then I do the same thing there and copy it and paste, right? So I'll exit from here now, and then I'll go to column. Okay, so this is column. All right, so we have our column here. All right, so now we'll do the same thing here. We'll go to detailed drawing, automatic detailed drawing, and then let's say we pick for story 1. All right, one thing you need to understand is that each floor, or possibly if the column size are the same, then one column details is okay. So normally if you adjust one, like edit one, arrange it based on the British standard or based on the standard that you normally do as a structural engineer, then you can just be using it. Okay, The only thing you need to do is to be adjusting or editing the bar size, right? Okay, and possibly the width of the cycles and the column type. The width of the column depend on the size of the columns and the rest of them. Okay, so this is column details. So I can do the same thing by copy them. Okay, to clipboard, copy it, and then put it on my bin 1 so that all my details that I'm generating will be in one particular location. So I'll click paste from here. All right, so I have my column. All right, so I have my columns, I have my beam. All right, so I'll go back to Orion again. Okay, so I can close this and then I close this. Okay, so I'll go back here. Right, now I want to export this particular model here, because this particular model only will give us our slab reinforcement details, will give us our slab layout, will give us our beam layout, it will give us our beam / column layout at the same time. You understand? So these details can, if you know how to use AutoCAD, you can use the principle of layer control manager, where you off some certain things and leave some certain things. So after that, you can copy it and have it separately from the rest of the drawing. You understand? That's why having knowledge of AutoCAD is important, as I say. All right, so I'll go to DSF export. If you want to export this now to AutoCAD, you see here icon here, DSF export. So I'll click on it and then I'll click OK from here. All right, so I'll click on replace based on the fact that I've generated it before. So I have my details here. Okay, these are reinforcement details. All right, so I'll highlight this and I'll copy it, clipboard, copy. All right, so I'll go to my drawing 1 and then I paste it so that we can have all our drawing in one location. So I'll paste. Okay, so I have it in one location. I have this in one location. So this will actually give us our beam layout, to give us our slab layout. Okay, by using the principle of offing and owning a layer. For example, I don't want this which is yield, slab yield. So I'll click on it, click on this arrow. You see that we have slab yield here. So I'll click on this box to turn off the slab yield. Okay, so you see that it's no longer there. So that's how you off. Okay, so having these details here, I'll go back to my Orion. So you agree with me that we have our column, we have our beam, and then we have our slab. All right, so the next thing is to get our foundation. Okay, so how do we do that? Now we have story 0, story 1, story 2, and story 3. So we are going to do our foundation. Our foundation is going to be on story 0. Okay, so now you agree with me that we have our beam, we have our column, and then we have our slab now, right? So now the next thing is for our foundation. Okay, so from here you see that we have our story 0, story 1, 2, and 3. So our foundation is going to be on story 0, right? So I'll double click on story 0, take us to this environment. All right, so what I will do is that I'll highlight it. Okay, I'll highlight this. Okay, after highlighting it, then I'll right click on any of the column and then we click on insert part base. Okay, so we have insert part base, we have pi, okay, we have combined footing and many other informations. But based on these structures, we are going to be using part base. So depend on the nature of the structures we are doing, we have pi. All right, so but we are going to be using part base for this. So I'll click OK. Now the Orion is telling you that you should create a typical footing, like all the footing size should be the same. Okay, so that it will do a calculation and possibly resolve in one uniform column base that it to be used. But that one I will just uncheck it. All right, let the column sizes be different. So I'll click here that okay, even when the column sizes are different, let it be square. Okay, so I'll click OK from here. So you see, Orion now is in the business of imputing all the column details, okay, like the column base. Alright, so you see how it is being done. So you see how it is bringing them, it's adding them one by one based on the calculations. Alright, so I'll wait for it before we continue. Alright, so you can see it now. Good. So you see, Orion have added column base to these particular structures, right? So you see it, okay, like this is 1 3 by 1 3. If you go to this other side here is 1 3 by 1 3, but the center columns, which they carry the most or the highest load, or the higher load will actually carry the higher value. Okay, so you see it. So if you understand structures, you actually know that this is actually correct based on the float of the load in a building, right? So having said that, I will go to, alright, so we need this in AutoCAD as well, right? So we need this in AutoCAD. So I'm going to export it through the DSF export. So I'll click on it, alright, and then I'll click OK. I'll click yes, based on the fact that I've generated it before. Alright, so I'll highlight it, copy it, and paste in that the same location. Copy it, and then I'll go to story 1, and then I paste it in the same location, so that all my detailings will be in the same place. Alright, so I have this. Now go back to Orion. Alright, now we talk about the foundation details, okay, for each of the column base. So what I'll do, I'll click on this foundation details here. There's an icon here at the bottom here. You can see my cursor here, down here, right? So I'll click on it. Okay, I'll click on it. So now I have different sizes of the footing, right? For example, you see that we have that first one that is what, 1 3 by 1 3. Okay, so how did I do that? First of all, before you bring it in, make sure you click on this new detail sheet. Okay, and then I'll click OK, so that it will create a sheet for us to include those foundation details. So this is how we apply them. You click on this 1 3 by 1 3, which is the foundation footing, okay, or the foundation base or column base. I'll click on it, and then I'll click outside here, right? So you see it has give us the column base, right? Then I'll do the same thing to this. Maybe it's 1 7 by 1 7. I'll click, give us the details. So now it depends on the, for example, now I've put 1 3 by 1 3. I don't need to put another 1 3 by 1 3 again, right? And then we have 2 3 by 2 3 as well. So depend on the details. So if your foundation, your column base is the same, or if it is different, you're going to pick it based on the different sizes. Not that you're going to put all of them, right? Because you are going to print the work, right? So from here you can at the same time export this to AutoCAD as well. So do the same thing to DSF export. Alright, so I'll click OK, and then I have this. So I can copy it and then put it in my drawing area. Paste. So I'll paste this. Alright, so I'll go back to Orion. Alright, so now I'll click on this, okay, this plan view. Then I'll go back to my story where we started our analysis from, right? So as you can see, we have generated our beam, okay, we have our column, we have our slab, we have our layout, foundation layout based on the foundations that we have generated based on footing and the column. Alright, and then we have our column details. Okay, so you agree with me that we have generated most of the design detail of the drawing details that we need in structures. Okay, so now it's just for you to use AutoCAD and actually arrange them, okay, based on the standard, based on the British standard. Alright,